Okay, I think we're going to go ahead and get started now. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. Happy MAGFest kickoff day. We're super excited to get this presentation started. So our panel is incorporating video game music in the elementary classroom. So if you are an educator in any capacity, or maybe you're just interested in the topic of music ed and how that relates to VGM, you are in the right place. We have some really cool activities planned. Sorry, I'm winded because I was just running back and forth. And we hope this will be useful to all of you. We only have an hour for this panel, so we are going to jam through these activities as quickly as possible. If we don't have time for a Q&A at the end, we will stick around so you can come up and chat with us. But when we timed it, we have all of these activities planned. If we do run short, you can come up and you can ask our questions and chat with us at the end. So we're gonna start by just quickly introducing ourselves. I will go first. I'm Brookford. I'm also known as Medlix on YouTube. This is actually my fourth MAGFest. And so I've been involved in the VGM scene since 2016. My main instrument is oboe English horn, but what many people don't know about me is I got my undergraduate degree in music education, and then I got my California teaching credential. I got a K-12 single subject is what they call it in California. And then I taught for several years as a kindergarten through sixth grade public school music teacher. So just beyond education, I'm also a symphony musician. I teach college oboe in the Central California area, and then I also do session work in the Los Angeles area. But because music ed was just my entire life for almost a decade, I'm very excited to be a part of this panel. And I'm going to pass it off to my awesome collaborator, Becca.
Oh my gosh, hi. Oh. Hi, I'm Becca. I go by Flutiful online, if you have seen that name before. This is my first MAGFest. And I just got here like 2 hours ago, so it's been like a whirlwind of a day.
Yes, 2 hours ago.
Yeah, so I'm a music teacher. I teach elementary, so kindergarten through fifth grade. I've been doing that for 11 years, so I'm actually in the public schools. I'm boots on the ground, right? So I have about 500 students a year. So at this point, I've taught literally thousands of students, and I take that responsibility really, really seriously. Yeah, so I have a bachelor's degree in music education, instrumental emphasis, and I got my master's in 2020 in differentiated instruction, which is fancy for advanced degree in education. And I'm primarily a flute player, as you can tell. I play a few other things, but flute is my main instrument, and I joined the VGM scene a few years ago, and I do collabs with a bunch of people. I've started writing my own arrangements, and I'm also playing in the band Windfall.
Yay! Awesome. Okay, so why are we doing this panel? We're gonna touch on this throughout the presentation many different times, but just to summarize really quickly for this slide, we believe that as music educators, especially in the early level, we have a responsibility to reach our students through music and effectively teach those fundamental concepts, or in the education world, we call this state standards. We think that using VGM, very good music, in our classroom is an effective tool, and throughout this presentation, we will elaborate why.
So when I was making the slides at first, I asked Brooke, do you have a memory that stands out, an experience with video game music that really affected your life? And we both have the same answer because we're like 80% the same person. So we both said Ocarina of Time. That's such a monumental.
Ocarina of Time. We're not the same person. Just kidding.
Okay, I'm from Minnesota, so you'll see that. You'll hear that, I guess. Thank you. So for my little story is when I was 9, I figured out how to transcribe the songs, but my music education was terrible, so I didn't know how to write quarter notes and eighth notes, so I just scribbled it out in whatever way that 9-year-old brain made sense, and then I figured out how to play it on piano and then flute, and I just that really moved me, and I felt I took ownership of my learning because it was something that I liked.
Yes. So we included these stats up here just to really reinforce the popularity of video games among our students. 76% is a huge statistic, and we as music teachers, we are one of the only content areas that has that high of a percentage of shared students in our classrooms. And we're going to take a look, moving on to the next slide here, the benefits of VGM. So why is this worth implementing in our classrooms? Well, first we know it is, I like these 3 words, accessible, interactive, and engaging. We do know from research the impact of listening to instrumental music. VGM in particular is effective because of its purpose. You know, its purpose is to engage the player, to direct the player. That is right in the wheelhouse of what elementary age children need. And so currently all of our curriculum currently in the K-12 world tends to have those elements similar to VGM, such as being repetitive and simple. Classroom music tends to have that. And as music teachers, we're given a set list of tools in order to teach those required music concepts. So those tools, or the curriculum, is the songs. So we are advocating that we supplement some of those songs with VGM because we are achieving the same goal. Speaking of curriculum, let's go ahead and just look at VGM in the current education world. We'll just briefly touch on this. So there is official VGM curriculum in a lot of the Eastern countries. The West is a little behind in terms of official curriculum. The East has actually been implementing this since the early 90s. And believe it or not, we have Nobuo Uematsu to thank for that, who's not just an amazing composer, but also is a huge supporter of music education and, in fact, supporting VGM in schools. Where the West has caught up is in the area of academic study. So we even have a name for the study of VGM. We call this ludomusicology. Someone that comes to mind in the area of academic research is Karen Collins. And then, of course, in terms of kind of the higher education world, universities are starting to adopt a more kind of VGM, soundtrack, you name it, centered program because many composers and musicians are finding work in the soundtrack industry. So we are seeing that a little bit as we move forward. Okay, I'll pass it off to Becca.
We thought this was important to include. I was going to do that.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know.
It was a moment. It was a moment, Brooke. Fine, whatever. Okay, so gatekeeping. So after we shared all those stats about how many kids listen to video game music, 76% of kids play video games. Like, it is in their homes. It's already in their ears. Let's use that. So we know that this music is important, but not everybody else knows that this music is important. So don't want to throw our colleagues under the bus, but some music teachers and some people don't feel like this is real music. It's not classical music, right? It's looked down upon, it's shamed, considered juvenile, inferior to classical music. This is also how film music was treated before, like, John Williams, like, made the industry what it is. The point about Western standard notation is that we music teachers have a lot of standards to cover. There's so much, and we only get 30 minutes with our kids. So we do have a goal of teaching them musical literacy. Obviously, that's important, but not every culture passes their music down with standard notation. So we just wanted to include that. Not every culture includes that. So.
Yeah, and so then I also wanted to include this statement. I wasn't originally planning on kind of touching on this, but it was brought up in a Game Grooves podcast a couple weeks ago, thanks by our friend Ro Panyuganti. Thank you so much for that awesome podcast. And so it was brought up in this podcast, and I felt like I kind of had to touch on this. So as many of you probably already know, mandatory music education in the US, so meaning every single student is guaranteed music class, that ends in the 6th grade, or in some cases the 5th grade, depending on where elementary school ends. In my state, in the California state, it is the 6th grade. Some schools, it's the 3rd or the 4th grade, so they choose to do instrumental music beyond 3rd or 4th grade. So all that to say, after elementary school, it then becomes a choice. You have to choose to do music in order to continue to do it. It is not guaranteed after that. And then in even some cases in California, if you're not English proficient, you don't even get the chance to choose music as an elective because you have to take EL classes. So even if you wanted to do music, you couldn't. So all that to say, this is important to us because we as elementary teachers, we have a big responsibility and influence because for some of our students, the only exposure they're going to have to music is from their elementary school music class. And some of you might be thinking like, oh, they'll probably have opportunities beyond school. But really not all students will. And so I'm sure that maybe some of you can relate to me, but I consider myself having a very privileged upbringing. My parents put me on private lessons. I had all of these opportunities for music. I had all this exposure to music. I had music training. And I'm comparing that to the school district that I taught in. we had 90% English learners and 98% of students living under the poverty line. So, and there's a lot of school districts.
That's very common.
Yeah, there are a lot of school districts like this. So some of these students' only exposure to music could be in my classroom. So we as elementary teachers, we do have that really big job. We could be the only inspiration for these students to develop a passion for music and continue music throughout school and beyond. And I can tell you from experience how many students come into my classroom who are known all around the campus as the difficult students, and every teacher on campus talks about all the problems they cause, but you know when they come into your classroom that they feel heard, you've made that connection with them, they've shared something that they're really passionate about, this video game they love, this film that they love, this type of music that they love. And so that student, because you've modified your lessons to connect with that student, they're a whole different person because music is their one outlet. So I don't think it's dramatic to say that music it can be life-changing for some of the students.
Absolutely.
And I don't think that that's far-fetched to say at all, and I'm sure Becca would agree with me. So all that to say, we are very passionate about our panel teaching other teachers kind of creative ways to make music learning fun and also effective. And the greatest part is we're not changing the required concepts. We're not dumbing down the fundamentals. For our students to teach, they're the same objectives, they're the same standards. We're just using different tools to achieve that. Mm-hmm. Okay, get me off the mic, Becca, go ahead.
Oh, your next thing was your recital thing.
Yes. Oh, my recital thing. Okay, so oh my goodness.
Brooke's gonna talk more.
Last thing before I stop. So many of you have probably heard this story before, and I had said it at VGM Con where we did a similar panel. But in order to get away with performing video game music at my senior recital, I had to tell my studio instructor that I was arranging a Japanese suite in order to get away with that. And I'm sure many of you have similar experiences as well. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, last thing on this slide. So the trend in music education the last 5 years is we are really taking a magnifying lens to our curriculum and like discovering where our folk songs come from. And we have found that a lot of our folk songs have very racist or sexist beginnings. So we are taking that stuff out. So while we're in this process of taking things out, let's add things. That's what we're advocating for. Let's add, first of all, multicultural music because that's super important. That's what our students look like. Our classrooms are diverse. We need to reflect that. But also, let's bring in pop music. Let's bring in video game music. Let's bring in hip hop. Let's bring in things that kids actually really like.
Yeah.
Okay, that was a lot of talking. So now that we've had our TED Talk, here's the format for the rest of our panel. You're going to be our students. Participation is encouraged. So we will go in and out of teacher mode. And this picture means that the slide was made for you, the adults in this room, not the students that would be in front of us. But gosh, a few more things to talk about. These activities are accessible to anybody. You don't have to have played video games to enjoy them or to get value from them. Last thing, in my district, I have to teach every single concept in 7 ways. We call those modalities. So I have to obviously teach kids how to sing, right? I have to teach kids how to read Western Standard Notation. I have to teach students how to play some kind of instrument, so that could be a xylophone, a recorder, hand percussion. I have to teach students how to write their own music. So they are expected to write their own compositions in elementary school. Yeah, I know! They have to move, they have to listen to a lot of different things, and the last one, super important, they have to learn how to improvise. How many of us can improvise? I didn't know how to improvise,
I
but
never was taught how to improvise.
No, so we have to teach how to improvise, so it's really fascinating. Okay, Brooke, are you ready?
I'm so ready.
Are you ready? Okay, here we go. Thanks, that was a lot of talking. Okay, our first lesson
We're starting with kindergarten.
Yes. Yay, oh gosh.
High-low.
This is a singing lesson, so please participate with us, otherwise this would be really awkward. So, hey everybody, can you take your finger out like this? You're gonna trace the line that you see and your voice is gonna match it. Ready? Woo! That was amazing.
It doesn't sound like that in the class, normally.
Oh, fun fact, when I did this with my kids, they're like, yeah, Luigi falls down a lot. So, okay, next one. Woo! This is so fun. Woo! Thanks for making silly sounds, guys. Oh, that was very like Bowser. Good job. Wow. Amazing. Oops. Okay, so I have a little challenge for you. This is a very old Mario game. Have you seen this before? Oh my gosh, this is so old. So, Mario's the little guy in red, if you didn't know this. I want you to have your finger out still, but you're gonna follow Mario with your voice and your finger. He jumps a lot, so be ready. Whoop. Whoop.
I can't see that.
Yeah, you did it. So that silly little thing addressed the standard of improvised musical sounds, and I got that from John Feierabend's Pitch Pathways. So that was a kindergarten lesson.
And the reason I said high-low is that is a standard. So we're teaching students the difference between high pitch and low pitch.
Oh, also to note about that, when kindergartners come into me, a lot of their parents don't sing to them, so they don't know what their singing voice is. So we have to bring that out of them with silly things like this.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Okay, so we have a reading/listen activity. So if we go ahead and look at the next slide here, visual notation, teaching basic music symbols. That is very important in the elementary music world, so we really just want to keep reinforcing notation, getting students used to reading rhythms. I believe triple meter, I believe that is in the 3rd grade standard, if I remember
Second
correctly.
for me.
I think 2nd grade.
For me.
And so I'm going to go ahead and get into teacher mode. So first we are going to finger clap, and our 2 fingers, so everyone let me see your 2 fingers. We are going to go ahead without any practice at all. We're just going to go ahead and sight read these rhythms here on the duty syllables. Ready, go. Do, dee, do, dee, do, da, dee, do, dee, do, dee, do, dee, do, dee, do, do, dee, do, dee, do, da, dee, do, dee, do, dee, do, dee, do. Rest. Do, dee, do, dee, do, da, dee, do, dee, do, dee, do, dee, do, dee, do. Do, dee, do, dee, do, da, dee, do, dee, do, dee, do, dee, do. Rest. Does anyone might know the name of the VGM song here? It probably is hard to tell because we're not doing pitches. Yeah, Snow Kingdom, Shibuya Town. Okay, so next we are going to listen to the song, and I want my students to listen for the pattern. When you hear the pattern, we are going to finger clap. Here we go. It's very quiet. Do, dee, do, dee, do, da, dee, do, dee, do, dee, do, dee, do, dee, do, do, dee, do, dee, do, da, dee, do, dee, do, dee, do, dee, do. Rest. Do, dee, do, dee, do, da, dee, do. Say the syllables with me. Do, dee, do, dee, do, dee, do, da, dee, do, dee, do, dee, do, dee, do. Rest. Okay, next. So for this next section, we are going to think of some winter movements. This is for the other part, the B and the C section. So can anyone think about winter motions, winter movements? What are some things you would do in the snow?
Oh, cold hands,
Ooh,
cold hands.
Oh, I like this.
Snowballs.
I see throwing snowballs. I see
Cold.
snow angels.
Snow angels.
Maybe don't get on the floor, but yes, that's
I mean,
okay.
you could.
And
if
so
you
now
wanted
we're going to do our finger claps, and when the music changes, we are going to do our winter actions. Here we go.
Here we go.
Here we go. Do, dee, do, dee, do, da, dee, do, dee, do, dee, do, dee, do, dee, do. Do, dee, do, dee, do, da, dee, do, dee, do, dee, do, dee, do. Do, dee, do, dee, do, da, dee, do, dee, do, dee, do, dee, do. Do, dee, do, dee, do, da, dee, do, dee, do, dee, da, dee, do. Our state standards identify repeating patterns and expressive elements while listening to and interacting with a variety of music.
Here's the sheet music.
Okay, and then we can go further with our older students, showing this notation. We always show, whenever we take this to music education conventions, we let teachers know about VG lead sheets, which has a lot of the sheet music there too. Okay, next one, here we go.
Okay, this is the movement one. So if you are willing and able, would you find a spot in the room that's yours? You can't touch anybody. This is your bubble spot. We can talk. We can talk. Yeah. Okay, I can't walk around with this, can I? Nope. Okay, could you pick one of those poses that's comfy for you?
That's not wireless mic, is it? Oh, darn.
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
Okay, how about a second one? Could you make something with a high shape? How high can your body go right now? Can you do something in the middle of your body? Can you do something really low? This is hilarious. Okay, I'm gonna put on some music. You're gonna pick a pose, and you have to hold that pose until I play a recorder note. I don't have a chime. Then you're gonna pick a new pose. Okay, pick something comfy. Sharp, right? Pick a different one.
We don't have a chime, so that's our chime.
Okay, that's probably enough. I think you get it. Don't want to hurt you guys. So with that, we were doing the standards demonstrate moving and make a musical choice while moving. And that is my favorite song, just in case you were wondering.
That's amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, so now we have a listen activity. Our activity here is called Match the Level to the Music. So a big part of what we do is to get students listening and thinking critically about what they are listening to. And this is a really fun way to do that. So some questions you can ask your class depending on their level, grade level, and how advanced they are with this terminology. So for example, like the word dissonance, we don't teach that in kindergarten. So depending on where they are, what grade level they are, we could ask things like loud, soft, tempo, style, what does it remind you of? How does it make you feel? And so in the next slide here, the only reason I wanted to include this, oh my gosh, I'm so winded from that activity, I'm so out of shape. So in our content area, we are required to implement ELA, which is English Language Arts, concepts in our classroom, even if we are not ELA teachers. So this activity would satisfy ELA requirements. It would get into what we call in the education world depth of knowledge, or DOK, where we want to prompt students to think deeper. So the upper graders can also use this as a writing prompt, so we can also use it as like an exit ticket, and it makes your admin very happy. Okay, so for this activity, obviously this is going to be way too easy since most of you probably know the songs and can even state them by name. But in the classroom, where maybe the students don't quite know this, I would play about 30 seconds from each song. Students would discuss with a partner next to them which level they believe it is from and why. What instruments do they hear? Why do they think it sounds that way? So for example, we won't give it away. Again, this is gonna be very easy for all of you, but we will just play 30 seconds of each. Here. Yeah, if you guys, in the classroom, we would have students discuss, if you don't wanna discuss and just think about it,
Okay.
feel free, whatever is comfortable with
one.
you. Here's number one. So we would, I feel like now I have to talk like this. We may facilitate discussions by asking questions like, what instruments do you hear? Why do those instruments sound like blankety blank? I won't give it away.
I heard a jingle bell right there.
Oh, a jingle bell,
Sounds sparkly.
Sparkly, I like that
Sparkly.
word. We get a lot of interesting answers from our students. No, let's go. good.
Okay.
Okay, does anyone know what that one was? Winter!
Good job.
All right,
Next one.
number 2. So I would say the most common word that students say is scary. I'm scared. So. Okay, what was that one?
Obvious.
That one's obvious.
Haunted.
Number 3.
I hear some kind of string instrument.
Ooh.
I hear some drums.
Here we come. This is a giveaway right here. And that one was
Desert.
Gerudo Town. Gerudo. It's actually Gerudo. And then this one's actually, I would say 4 and 5 are tricky if you don't know the song already because they sound a little similar. Both kind of that peaceful vibe. Is it really All right, and that one was good. So I would say home and water are the two that I think
that's
people mix up because they both have similar. Okay, and then number 5, of course.
This one.
We have lots of. We can also do like any of beach themes, anything like that. That's a good giveaway too. Cool, and that's a little game there. And we have a worksheet for this too if we want students to do anything written. And of course, here is our objective for this activity. And then on the next slide, I just included both California and Minnesota standards. And I included this because a question I get a lot when we do these panels is, how are the standards between states? And the answer to that is they're very, very similar. They're just worded a little bit differently. So for example, Minnesota, we have identify the elements used in a musical selection to convey its possible intent. And then in California, describe how expressive qualities such as tempo and timbre are used to reflect creators' expressive intent. So very similar objectives, just of course, worded differently.
All right, I get another movement one. So you need some background information first. It's based on Journey. So Journey is a video game from 2012. The main character travels through levels with the aid of a magic scarf. That's important to the lesson. The scarf gets longer when you level up. Their goal is to reach the mountaintop and help others along the way. I haven't played this game, so I hope that's accurate.
So you meet other players throughout the game after you finish it, and the only way you can communicate is by singing to each other.
Did you know
Yep.
that?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that. Okay. My heart. In my classroom, I have a bunch of posters that show how students can move their bodies. So that's also background knowledge that you need to know for this. All right, teacher mode. All right, friends, we're gonna watch a little movie, and it's from a video game. So what I need you to do is watch the main character that's wearing red right there, and you need to shout out how you see them moving. So you guys are literally gonna shout it at me. But when I'm in my classroom, I write on the whiteboard right there, so that's why that is there. Okay. So how are they moving? Walking, jogging, jumping.
Strafing? What's that?
Slide. Jumping. Ascending.
Oh, I like that.
Wow. He's getting it.
Ascending and descending. Wall jump. Flying.
part 2, friends. This time I want you to watch what's happening to their scarf. What happened to the scarf? It got longer. Okay, so this is the actual lesson. I can't do it with you, though, because I didn't bring scarves on the plane. Sorry. So we're going to modify this. But this is what the kids would see. So the first part of the activity, you have to make a statue, kind of like what we did earlier, but you have to use your scarf. I get to be the main character. So when I say go, then you follow me around the room. And then at the end of the song, to show that we have leveled up and we've made connections in the game, all the scarves have to connect. It's really beautiful. So I have some pictures so that you can see what it actually looks like. These are really good. Look at these. I know. One's doing the bridge. I like this one too. They had to be creative. Okay, so to modify the game, we're going to play the game. We are going to first make a statue to hold, so pick something comfy that you're going to hold for like 20 seconds. Then you're going to follow me around the room. I have to make sure I achieve every movement that we saw in that first video. That's why we wrote that down. And then at the end of the song, when I say to, we're going to make a connection. Now, if you don't want to touch hands with people, that's fine. You just do this. Okay? And we're not going to do weird connections, people. We're going to keep it appropriate. All right? So if you want to participate, let's stand up.
This is my, oh, there you go. This is my scarf.
Okay, so take your pose. I always think it's really beautiful when we're all doing that together at the end. So I want to give a shout out to my friend Mike Mello, who helped me make that. And he said, so cool to collaborate with you. That's what the journey is, helping people. So the standards addressed by doing that, make a musical choice while moving.
All right. Next one, now we have a writing activity. We don't have worksheets for you today, but normally in this activity, students would actually write their notes for this one. So students for this one are going to be creating their own compositions. when you are teaching composition to very young kiddos, they are given a very strict set of rules, basic building blocks, and they go from there. So this is the prep stage. We have different musical elements. We call these strategies that they can choose from. And then for this particular activity, we will be playing this on the recorder. And they have these 5 notes to choose from. So typically, we will give them a written handout that looks something like this. So step 1, it's going to be the next slide. You'll see the written worksheet. Okay. There you go. So step 1, write name and class, which we don't have the worksheet. Step 2, choose the form from the options below and put them into the little boxes. Step 3, we are going to choose from those 3 rhythms and put each of those rhythms in one of the boxes. 4th, we are going to give each rhythm a letter. 8th notes must be the same letter, and you must end on G. So students are given 5 note options. This is very, very typical in elementary school because the pentatonic scale allows it to sound good even if every single note is played at the same time. So as you can see here, we are giving students tons of structure. This is what we do in the fundamental stages. And then step 5 and 6, we have students practice and play for the teacher. So here is what an example composition may sound like, created and performed by Becca.
Awesome. My 8th notes are different letters, though.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
We broke the rules, it's okay.
Broke the rules. Else's idea and somebody else's.
So you can probably hear how the pentatonic scale, it's, you know, no matter what note you choose, it's going to sound good. So here is our objectives here. Our objective was to compose a 16-beat piece using form, select rhythms, and select pitches. Of course, this lines up with our standards, generate musical ideas using a limited set of rhythm or pitches. Okay, are you guys all ready for another move activity? This is much different move vibe, but this is personally my favorite one. Okay, so the first thing we usually do when introducing a song, especially with the younger ones, is get a good sense of the steady beat. And we also want to familiarize our students with the song and the form, or when the song changes. So we are going to, for this, just kind of the prep stage, we are going to put the beat somewhere on our bodies, and then when the music changes, we're gonna put the beat on a different part of our body.
A part is your lap.
Yes, A part is lap. Here we go. Part of your body, you don't have to follow me. Okay, you guys get that. So the form here is A-B-A-B. So here's where it gets really fun. I encourage as many of you as possible to participate. We don't need to form like a 2-aisle line thing. You really just need to face your partner for this one. And so me and Becca are just gonna kind of demo this the way we're gonna teach this, just because you guys are adults and can probably do it in the first try, is we're just going to do it and show you the A part and the B part, and we'll do it together, showing you what it looks like. Here we go. So forward 4 steps, 1, 2, 3, 4. Back 4 steps. Section, and you can choose whatever you want for that. Okay.
Find a partner.
So go ahead and find a partner if you're comfortable and wanting to do this. And here we go. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You have to. Thank you. All right, here we go.
This is why I get 10,000 steps a day, you guys.
Yes. And I mean, those elementary kids, they have no shame and they don't have insecurity like adults do. So it's really funny to see what they decide to do.
Okay. Next one you don't have to participate in because I have a video. So every single day when I teach kindergarten, because we talked about their singing voice, how they have to activate it because they don't always know what their singing voice is. So I asked them a question of the day, and it has to be singing voice. So, yes. Okay. That was very cute. So that was improvising musical sounds, making musical choices.
Okay, so we have another sing activity. Don't worry, we don't have to get up. We can stay at our seats. So this little set of icons here, does this look familiar to anyone? So if you studied music ed, or if you have a really great memory from elementary school or elementary school music, you will definitely remember this. This is called solfege. This comes from the Kodai methodology. So basically each pitch is represented by a hand sign. The do, which is the tonic pitch, it is movable though. So there are some schools of thought that they believe in immovable do, which doesn't make any sense to me.
Too much right now.
You were taught a movable do?
In Ukraine and in all Yeshiva, there's no movable dough.
Oh my goodness, my college professor would have had a heart attack hearing that. Yeah, so movable do is typically what we teach, and so do is the tonic pitch. So for the next one, this is, of course, we are going to learn the pitches here, and so
see if you can guess what song this is.
We're not going to say the song.
Way.
We're going to see. And so let me just get okay, making sure I'm getting the right key here. So repeat after me. We're going to sing and do the hand signs as best as you can. Mi, fa, mi, re. Mi, fa, mi, re. Mi, fa, mi, re, mi, do.
Mi, fa, mi, re, mi, do.
Mi, fa, sol, la, re.
Mi, fa, sol, la, re.
Don't shout it out if you know it. Don't shout it out if you know it. Okay, maybe. I think there's one more.
I'm surprised.
Wait,
no, that was the last one.
That was the
last one.
Okay, well, the next one's a giveaway. Can you feel the sunshine? Does it brighten up your day? Repeat after me. Can you feel the sunshine? Does it brighten up your day? Do the hand signs as best as you can. Awesome. Okay, so after we've done the pitches with the solfege, we're going to now add the lyrics. Don't you feel that sometimes you just need to run away? That law up there, the law is the... I learned it like this. Some people learn it like this. I learned it like that, so I don't know. Yeah, some people.
Eyebrows.
Different schools of thought.
Eyebrows.
Oh, eyebrows, yeah. Okay, next one. Reach out for the sunshine. Forget about the rain. We'll keep going. Think about the good times, and they'll come back again. Good. So we end on re there. So now that the students have accurately learned the pitches, we are going to now sing it. Of course, there's a million different activities you can do with
We would
this.
spend way more time on that.
Way more time on this with a lot of different things, but we're just gonna listen to it and have
Sing along
fun,
if you want to.
fun listening and singing along.
Can you see the sun is shining on me? It makes me feel so free, so alive. It makes me want to survive. And the sky, it makes me feel so high. The bad times pass me by. 'Cause today, it's gonna be a brighter day. Can you feel the sunshine? Does it brighten up the day? Don't you feel that sometimes
It's really fast.
just need to run away?
It's really fast.
Reach out for the sunshine. Forget about the rain. Just think about the good times, and they will come back again.
Stop. Woo! Those we usually don't do it that quick with the hand signs,
No.
but so right here our objective is to practice the solfege pitch fa. That is the 4th scale degree, and here are the standards addressed and our objectives. And then of course we included the sheet music for teacher reference as well. Lots of teachers, depending on what they play, especially keys or guitar, they can kind of play along if they would like to teach it that way as well. All right, next one.
Okay, we have 2 lessons left.
We'll go.
We're-
They're really quick because we're just talking through them a little
Yeah,
bit.
we can't do these ones. Okay, we have an improvised one. Like I mentioned earlier, this is the hardest one to teach. So for this, we're going to listen to a song. Just like we did earlier, we're going to keep the beat on our lap for A. When you hear the music sound different, you're going to put the beat somewhere else, thinking about the form. We'll just listen to it like once through. So here's A. B. C.
I like this.
It's ABC.
ABC.
Okay, knowing that, so then I went through the script of the game and I found this sentence, it's just random. So then I would teach a sentence. I've never known any problem that couldn't be solved
with a little nap.
So this is going to be the basis of their improvisation because they need guidelines. So they're going to take that sentence, they're going to take it to an instrument, make it pentatonic, like Brooke said.
Take off the burgers and the fries is what we teach them.
Yeah,
B and
burgers,
F.
burgers and fries, take them off, put them in the fridge.
Oh,
That's
I
what I
like
said.
that. That's new.
Okay. So then the first thing they can do is only use G and A and tap the words like, I've never known any problem. And I give them the rule that they have to end on A. Okay, so once they figure that out, then I let them use mallets. We say pinch, grab, bike. Hopefully that's proper mallet technique. And then they play it with G and A. And then we add some letters so they have the full pentatonic scale available. Doing the same thing, I've never known any problem that couldn't be solved with a little nap. Ending on nap is on A, then they play it. We're just rushing through this, aren't we? Then for the A and B parts, right, where they're not improvising, I asked them, how does Donkey Kong move? Donkey Kong was in the new movie, right? What did you see him doing? So then they'll tell me lots of things. So then the A and the B parts, they're like jamming in their spots. They're being Donkey Kong. The C part, they play their improvisation, and I have a little video of how that goes. It's kind of a mess, but it's funny.
1, 2, here you go.
So that reached the standards, improvise rhythmic or melodic phrases, and making musical choices. The sheet music is here. You can see the A part, the B part, and the C part, and this is where we improvised.
Woo.
did it.
So again, we're just gonna quickly talk through this one. This is play. And so the purpose of this is to show you that you can do different arrangements for what we call Orff ensemble. For those of you that are unfamiliar with Orff, that is the xylophone ensemble plus hand percussion and singing. So this is actually a picture of my classroom. And if you look at the picture, we have the larger xylophones, those are the bass, we have the alto, and then the soprano xylophones are like the glockenspiels, or we just say soprano, and then of course hand percussion, and then while everyone plays, they sing as well. So this is an example arrangement that I had created. I chose Museum from Animal Crossing because it accomplishes two extremely crucial elements for a elementary performance: repetition and layering. So that is an Orff, those two things, that is like Orff ensemble, everything is repetition and layering. So students will be assigned a part, and they look something like this. So,
Hear it though?
oh yeah, we'll just hear a little bit of like what the mock-up might sound like. And glockenspiel here is the soprano xylophone. And there are two alto xylophones, the marimbas, the wood bars, and the metal bars. So we just call it alto 1 and alto 2.
Ooh, that is piercing.
So you guys get the point. And I wish I would have included a video of that, but of course that shows my students' faces, and I didn't necessarily want to do that. But so my students had performed that for one of their concerts, which is really cool. So I'll just kind of shuffle through what like the students would see and what their parts would look like. So here is the bass part. The next one is the alto part, and so of course like you just teach them from the ground up rhythm and the pitches and mallet technique, all that. Then we have glockenspiel part. This is the melody, so you know you can pick and choose. Students, normally they would rotate, so we would have students everyone learns every single person's part, and then they play their part, and then we have them rotate, so then they get a chance to play every single part. And then here is what all three of those would look like. So I would usually show that, have everyone learn the mallet part. And then we have the hand percussion part. This is really, really good if you run out of xylophones and you have a large class and you have leftovers, you would put them on hand percussion. So that is what the clave part, or hand clap in this case, claves is the hand percussion. And yeah, that's, I think, pretty much it. And then here are the standards. Here, perform music by responding to notation, applying musical elements and technical skills, and of course, collaboration as an ensemble. This is a really good option for a winter or spring concert. Okay, I'll go ahead and pass it off to Becca to finish us off.
Oh my gosh, we did it in an hour. Wow. In summary, teaching with video game music can supplement your existing curriculum. We're not replacing anything. When you're making things, if you're a music teacher, you start with the end goal in mind, have a general understanding of what video games are popular, so students will latch onto it. Be creative. It makes you listen to these songs differently, right? I bet you listened, I bet you picked out something a little bit differently today.
I wanted to call you out because I don't think you're going to talk about your own resources. I will talk about how amazing you are. So did you have anything you wanted to say? So Becca is a genius behind all of these activities and ideas. She pretty much came, with the exception of very few things, she pretty much came up with all of these ideas, and I am just here implementing them in my classroom. So she has a Teachers Pay Teachers store for you to access any of these lessons, or you can just message us. Again, you can always contact us with questions or comments. We'll be up here afterwards if you want to come up and chat. But anyway, I wanted to call that out, support
Thank
Becca.
you.
She is, again, the genius behind all of this.
Thank you. Thanks. Do you want to take questions? We have a couple minutes.
Is there a panel right after ours?
Oh, does anybody know?
At 7
Oh.
o'clock? I guess if we can take a few questions.
Questions.
If you guys.
Otherwise, thank you so much for coming.
Otherwise, if
That was
you're
really fun.
leaving, thank you so much
Thank you
for
for
coming.
coming.
This is a great audience. This is probably the best adult audience we have had, and we've done. This is the third time we've done this. Yeah, go back one more
Oh.
slide. Go ahead.
/Flutiful.
Flutiful with 2 O's.
2 O's this time.
What was the name of the website I can find sheet music at?
VG lead sheets.
VG lead LEAD sheets.
Yep.
Thank you.
Got thousands on there, right? Does anyone have questions? In the back?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so I'm actually not the music teacher. I'm the child of the music teacher who hates video games, but her students love them. I came here to try and convince her and help her. Where would you suggest she start for someone who doesn't really like them, doesn't understand them, but like desperately wants to reach her kids on another level? Where would you suggest she start?
Here.
I literally was like, I wish she could see this right now.
Aw. There's not very many resources out for this topic yet. It's such a new topic.
Yeah.
Can I give a suggestion?
Yeah.
A Wii U, and they came out with a game in 2008 called Wii Music.
Oh, yeah.
Actually worked with music teachers in the U.S., so there are actually lesson plans and stuff already incorporated, and it's pretty easy to use. Like, they keep the beat as a conductor with the kids together. There's listening games on there, and my parents' beats are on this, so they're like saying, "Your mom's wrong right now." But the fact that they're actually playing, like, if you have a Wii, they are actually playing video games in your class. Like, the Boom Whackers, they have a handheld and stuff on there. So Wii Music is actually very a good resource and stuff. So that's how I've got my kids into a lot of.
Thank you for that.
I feel like there's a lot of stuff I could talk about this.
There's
Like
a lot of YouTube videos, like Smart Game Piano has some stuff. Tutorials online, YouTube tutorials.
Yeah, chat with us after. I have like a lot of statements.
Kenny has
and
a good.
The short suggestion, just any video games your kids like, just put OST and look that up in YouTube and hear the music from it.
Yeah, my kids keep a steady beat every beginning of every class instrumental. I was doing Eddie Walker, Lo-Fi, and they're asking me where the video game soundtracks are now.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, hi.
I have a question. So in school, like you do all these activities and they perform and they sing and they learn the rhythms and the sheets and all that stuff. Now I know that in public schools they like to test kids. What does your testing look like?
We don't test music.
They don't test it.
They don't test music.
So it depends. I will say in California, in the 5th and 6th grade, their testing is the instrumental music assessment. So they do like a performance exam or a playing test.
Well,
we do, in terms of assessments, I mean, we do that kind of, I mean, like you saw, like the exit ticket, or they could be a written assessment, or maybe their written composition could be their assessment.
Sorry, are you talking like a state test?
Yes, but you assess them.
Oh, yeah, so we assess them.
Yeah, as the teacher,
daily.
we assess them. Daily.
Yeah, weekly. I do like weekly little paper tests or whiteboard tests. Like they're expected to write, just like
So
every other subject.
Is your question, is there testing expected for us to do?
Like especially like state standardized testing, that sort of thing.
We don't have music is
Not that.
in
no.
terms of a state standardized test. So I mean, when it was a STAR test when I was going to school, now we have, I don't know if that rings a bell with anyone, music is exempt from that.
Right.
And even PE is included, so I believe music is exempt from state testing. And I do not think that, I think it's, in other countries they do have it, just I know not the US.
sure.
That's a good question, it is worth looking into.
Standardized testing can go off.
Yes.
So I'm about to be a student teacher.
Yay!
I'm really excited to start working on stuff, but I'm afraid because I get so excited with this kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know, like, how do you know when there's a good balance of using like the classics and what the schools want you to teach, and like the newer wave of like video game music and pop music? Like, how do you balance that out in your classroom?
That's a great question. Do you want to?
Of course, you're gonna make me answer it.
Oh no, I can add my own thoughts about it.
My district's curriculum is more important, right? That has to come first. But when I see like, hey, this lesson had, I don't know, dynamics or form or something, then I will weave that in with it. So
I would say
this comes second.
I would say your first step is just to make sure what your district or what your admin or what they want from you. So it's like my district gave me tons of freedom to do what I wanted in my curriculum.
Yeah.
So if you have a VAPA, like a visual performing arts part in your district, or your principal is your admin, whoever is your evaluator, find out what they want. Say, do you have a standardized curriculum that you want me to teach? That's kind of your starting point, because I mean, we only have so much control. We do have to follow the rules, you know. And then from there, you can supplement it with other curriculum. Normally, like the state standards are the framework, and then you can use whatever tools you want to achieve that. So we are saying that you can use VGM as tools to achieve that, plus the existing curriculum. But other districts are very strict. They say everyone has to know these songs, and those are the folk songs.
Yep.
So I would say I was able to fit in both VGM and the classic curriculum in my lessons, because I saw them once a week. So I would say kind of go from there and then gauge kind of what your students like. If they're just not having the hot cross buns, then you can kind of weave that in. But yeah, I would say go from there, finding out what it really just depends on the district.
We
And
do have a lot of freedom, and then like once you get to know your students, you'll see like, oh, they can go forward with this, or we could do this, and class by class too. Like, oh, this class is they're not going to handle this.
For sure, yeah, and you'll know as your teacher expertise which classes like certain things. But yeah, I would say it's
like my
People-
fourth graders.
Oh,
I can't
go
do anything fun with them because they're little jerks. So they don't do any of this. They just get
you're
the
focused on
curriculum.
behavior, yeah.
Yep, I'm focused on like, can you just stay in your spot and not hit people? Like, please, like, anyways.
I would say we are the biggest content area where they give us the most freedom, just because they don't really care about us, which is kind of a good thing, but also a bad thing. So most districts do give a lot of freedom. I think mine did. But yeah, anyway, that was a great
Ken?
question.
Do you have any tips on dealing with either parents or administrators who basically don't support either this kind of content, or for that matter, just education in general?
I give them the paperwork. I say, here's a list, here's the binder of all the state standards. And if they're really going to go that far, you can say, here's word for word what the state standards say, and this is what I have to teach. This is ed code. This is what I got my credential in. And you can say, I'm achieving these standards using these songs. I don't think they're going to...
Smack one of those people in the face with that binder?
No. I would say, surprisingly, it doesn't come up a whole lot. I don't think admin are like down
I've
our...
never had anyone
I've never had an
complain.
admin come into my classroom and be like, this is not real music.
No one's ever complained.
I feel like it more, you get that more in like the higher education, like kind of the academic study. Like if you were to study music education and getting the training from your college professors, I think they're more apt to kind of say, this is the methodology we use and this is the only thing to use. I don't see it in my experience. I could be wrong. I don't see it a whole lot within the public schools that they're, like that. Yes.
Like a little on the spot, but can each of you tell a story of when you noticed a student connected with video game music really well?
Can I go first?
Yeah.
So I had brought up the statement about students going from like 0 to 100 in my classroom. I had a student, I knew this was the student that every single teacher on campus, I had 800 students a year, 30-something classrooms, all 30 teachers, this was a 6th grader, had this student at one point. This is the worst student we've had, look at this behavior record, look at this. And he came to my classroom and we were doing, so in my district, it was, 95% Hispanic Latino students, and so we did Selena Quintanilla music in our classroom. And this one student afterwards came up to me right before he was about to leave and goes, can we do that song again next class? And I was shocked because like the only thing that comes out of the student's mouth is inappropriate words and cussing out. And I heard that and it was just like, absolutely, we can do that song again. And so that student, for the rest of the year, he wanted to do band, he wanted to join choir. He's now graduated. At this point, he's in high school now, still doing band. And I can't, I just got chills. I just got chills. And when I said, music changes lives, I mean, it sounds very dramatic to say, like, I want to say that, again, this might sound dramatic, but I feel like music changed that kid's life.
We're here because of that.
And because his whole experience in education was constantly teachers telling him how terrible he was always getting in trouble. He never heard from a teacher. He never had that connection with a teacher. And it was as simple as, that one artist who I was not familiar with. I was just like, I have these percentage of students in my classroom. We should learn about Tejano music. And so just the one simple, like, I really like that song. Can we do it again next class? Or when are we going to do Selena music again? And it was like, I don't know. I know that kid is still in music today. And I know that had it not had been for that interaction, that probably would not have happened. So I just got chills, like, telling that story.
There's a lot of stories like that are very heartwarming and moving. One that comes to mind is I had a kindergartner a few years ago who screamed and cried and hid in places, and you couldn't find him, and he would leave the school, and like, it's just really tragic, but he likes Mario. And so I gave him a little Mario star to hold, and he was so excited, and we did these lessons, and he loves it so much, and he wants to come to music, and he's terrible for all the other teachers, but he loves music. And now he's in like 8th grade, and he's taking private piano lessons, and he's in band, and like, that's because of the connection with something that he loved.
And it's like, we as music teachers, like, we hear teachers saying, oh my goodness, that student, and we're just sitting there like, no, we know when that kid comes to my class, he feels heard, he feels safe in our classroom, he feels like he has a voice, and it's really incredible. I feel like we do have the power to...
We have a lot of power.
We have the power to change lives. It sounds so cheesy. Yes?
Yeah.
So language barriers, I know I teach a lot of my classes in English and Spanish, but we had an incident last year where my phone going in Arabic, I speak in English and Spanish. So how's a way to simplify it enough when you do have those language barriers? Because I am English speaking, my Spanish doesn't always come through straight to when we have new kids from Venezuela. So they don't always understand. I mean, we have kids translating, but obviously they're not always listening to what we're saying because they're having to translate in that instance.
That's like opening a can of worms in terms of the,
Yeah.
No,
ESL.
that's a great question. In terms of,
Not like a kindergartner who's mute right.
oh, absolutely. So we call it EL, EL incorporation in our classrooms. That's
English
a whole nother
learners.
thing. So I know that like visual notation is really good, just reinforcing the English, reinforcing that, or like we call it DLI, dual language immersion. So our district was a DLI district. So all of the teachers were required to at least, kind of mix the Spanish and the English. So that is really big. I would say like teachers need to have the specialty DLI in order to achieve that is my answer. It's a very complicated thing, but.
So no, we can't be expected to learn everybody's language, right? We have to teach in English because that's the expectation. But I mean, you'll notice from what we saw today, how much of this was visual. How much could you see without, like, you don't need to know duty, but you see the 2-finger clap sign and you can watch other kids. You can, like, I make it as visual as possible.
Simplify that down enough for if you have self-contained AU classes or
They don't come with a para?
no, they do, but like we have a K2 group and then 3-5 are mixed together.
Yeah.
All of them are mute, so they can't like speak it and stuff or anything.
This is like a whole, this is
Never mind.
like...
No, these are
we
great
could talk.
things to bring up.
We could talk after.
I feel like somebody
This is
maybe
like-
with the students with exceptional needs credential would be able to answer this a lot better than us.
Yeah.
I really.
No, it's
I
okay.
feel like I'm just not qualified to give a great answer. I know that we do have some like experts in the audience because I had talked to somebody.
If you want to talk, I'm a music therapist.
Oh.
I work with a lot of students who are mute or nonverbal.
There we go. Look at that.
Any recommendations? A good way to use it is get a laminated sheet that has some basic responses for specific emotions and how they're feeling, and help them process. Okay, having a lot of visuals helps a lot. Having a lot of physical visuals that they can reach out and touch towards is very tactile. It gets them involved. It makes sure that they're paying attention. And sometimes actually just adding musical answers. So if they have an instrument, say, okay, what do you understand? You hit once for yes, 2 for no. Yes, I understand. Okay.
Yes.
I heard a number 2. Who doesn't understand? Can you raise your hand?
Because I do a lot of the same things every single time they're responding to it now.
Yeah.
And sometimes, like, one of the very different personalities.
Oh.
Sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and going back to like the nonverbal mute students, I cannot even tell you how many classroom teachers come into my classroom and they say, I cannot believe that student sang in your classroom. I haven't heard him talk all year. Like, we have that power. It's an incredible thing as music teachers. So I know that we need to wrap up to get ready for the next. We're getting a time.
Thank you so
guys
much,
so much.
everybody.
Well, you can chat with us, have conversations with us. Thank you so much. You guys are an awesome audience. I really appreciate it.